everyone, welcome to Redmen TV. My name's Dan Clubb and I'm here to talk to you all about the breaking news that Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool manager, has been banned from the touchline for 2 football matches, and he's also been fined £75,000 following comments he made after our 4-3 win against Tottenham just a few weeks ago. So yeah, big news. Obviously Klopp, one of those matches is suspended until next season, so it depends on his further conduct, but more importantly, one of the matches will be immediate, which means he will not be on the touchline for Liverpool against Aston Villa on Saturday at Anfield, which in most seasons, yeah, you know, bad news, the manager's not there, not great, but on Saturday, it's the Roberto Firmino farewell. It's the James Milner farewell, it's the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain farewell, it's the Naby Keita farewell also, but it's Bobby. And Klopp isn't going to be, listen, he's going to be there. He's probably going to be sort of sat halfway up the stand, you would imagine. After the match, he'll be on the pitch with Roberto and sort of doing all the usual, probably lap of honour, etc., etc. Who knows what Liverpool have planned for Bobby and indeed the other players. But it's a bit of a sickener, really, that Klopp can't be there. We're going to talk through some of the details in just a second and exactly what it means and sort of why it's happened, etc., etc. But yeah, what we do know is that Jurgen Klopp will not be on the touchline when Liverpool take on Aston Villa this weekend, which is grim. It is really grim, and it's a shame, like I say, for so many reasons. But just as we go through the story, so not long ago, James Pearce tweeted the news initially, and he said that Jurgen Klopp has been suspended from the touchline for 2 matches and fined £75,000 following comments he made after the game against Tottenham. First match of touchline ban is effective immediately, and the second is suspended until the end of the 2023-24 season. So effectively, what that means is, like I say, Saturday he's not going to be there. That immediate suspension kicks in, and his further conduct will be sort of monitored. So pretty much any discrepancy next season, and that second ban will immediately kick into place, and he'll miss a game then as well. So yeah, it's bad. And like I say, it all comes after Liverpool beat Spurs 4-3. Obviously that last minute Diogo Jota winner, moments after Richarlison 40 nicked the point. It was a sweet moment, and I think it was made even more sweet for Klopp, obviously, given it was Paul Tierney was the ref in charge that day. They have a history. I think it's fair to say Klopp has confronted him numerous times about how he's refereed Liverpool matches, and he obviously felt, rightly so, hard done by in that game as well. And when Jota nicks the winner, we all remember Klopp sprinting over to the 4th official, celebrating in his face, pulling his hamstring, and it looks like, well, he was actually yellow carded for those incidents. So sort of retrospectively, you can't really go back and punish him for that, but it's clearly what Klopp has said post-match that has brought on this punishment. So yeah, want to go through some comments before I look into what's happened in a little bit more detail. Hazard says, what's happened? Where's that comment gone? There it is. Hazard says, what's happened to freedom of speech? Well, unfortunately, when it comes to referees, we all know they're a protected species. Like we've seen Howard Webb over the past week sort of showing his face, the head of the PGMOL, of course, showing his face on Sky Sports and other media outlets trying to sort of humanise referees and give them a face. But when it comes to criticising them, you just can't do it. And Howard Webb even cherry-picked the clips they went through, in my opinion, and the VAR stuff. Like, he absolutely decided what they weren't going to look at. It was, I don't know, it's grim. Anyway, let's have a look for some more comments. Total Red says that when it works, in 1 second, hide that. No, that's just decided it doesn't want to work anymore. Total Red does say this will bring the teams together even more. I hope you're right, but like I said earlier, it's just, oh, that's why. There we go. It's just a shame for Bobby, really. Like, they've done so much together. He's been so pivotal to Jurgen Klopp's side and the success we've had, that Firmino doesn't deserve Klopp not to be on the touchline, whether he starts the game or comes on the sub. Like, it's probably going to be Pep Lijnders, and that's not right. Like, it should be Klopp. Like, it deserves to be Klopp. They deserve each other to be there on that day, sort of wholeheartedly, not just, like, say, Klopp sat 20 rows back in the stands watching on. Don't get me wrong, he'll still make decisions, but I don't know, it's just grim. Yeah, Dave makes the point as well. Sorry I missed some comments earlier, we had a little freeze on the old stream. Dave said he's still waiting for the PGMOL to release that audio that allegedly disproves Klopp's comments about the ref. Yeah, it's an interesting point, because that's kind of where this all stems from, of course. So Klopp, post-match, speaking to the media, said that the conversation between him and Paul Tierney when he was yellow carded, like Paul Tierney essentially accused Paul Tierney of saying something that he shouldn't have done. A few days later it came out that never happened, and the audio threatened to get released from that, but like you say, Dave, we never actually heard how that conversation went, so we can't really comment on it. And also, Klopp then spoke in his press conference a little bit later, I think a couple of days after, ahead of our next game, and he kind of downplayed the whole thing. He said he's spoken to the FA and what have you. He was awaiting this verdict, essentially. I think that's fair to say, but I don't know, mate, it seems a bit unnecessary to me. Like I said, they've had run-ins before. The standard of refereeing is what it is. It needs addressing. We all know that. That's why Howard Webb was sort of going out front and centre and addressing the standard of refereeing and decisions that have been made. But yet, they're such a protected species, these referees, that if Klopp does allude to even something slightly negative about them, he gets slapped with a 75 grand fine, a 2-game touchline ban. And the fine, by the way, is actually less than what Ivan Toney has been fined. Granted, he's got an 8-month ban, which is clearly much, much worse, but the actual fine itself is grim. AJ says he's much less worried about Klopp's touchline ban because we're at home, which I get. And listen, in terms of the actual game itself, I don't think a 1-game ban is particularly detrimental. Like, Klopp's still going to make all the calls. He's not involved all of a sudden. For me, it's more the occasion and what it means in terms of that. And of course the FA kind of ruling with an iron fist and sort of cracking down on what managers can't say and can and can't say. And it just, I don't know, I think the standard of refereeing is such that managers almost need a little bit of leeway. And the fact we still have Paul Tierney refereeing our matches when quite clearly there's a problem there is bewildering to me, because Klopp's called him out a few times now, and in this post-match interview he actually said he had asked Paul Tierney if he had a problem with Liverpool. He obviously responded to no with that, but Klopp kind of questioned that, and he questioned his motives when refereeing us. So I don't know, whether we get him again remains to be seen, of course, but it feels to me like it would be it'd be foolhardy of the PGMOL to appoint, or even indeed the Premier League, to appoint Paul Tierney to a Liverpool football match again, because this keeps happening. It's constantly, time and time again, we're having problem after problem. We all remember when Harry Kane should have been sent off. He wasn't. We probably should have had a penalty in that game. Then Andy Robertson does get sent off. They're just clashing all the time, Klopp and Tierney. And whether you think Klopp's right or Tierney's right, whatever, it just needs to be kept apart now, because it's just getting worse and worse and worse. It's no good for anyone. Absolutely no good for anyone. Yeah, and I will also make the point as well that I think, was it 2 or 3 weeks before all of this, Andy Robertson was elbowed in the face by an actual official, and we've had nothing, I think it's fair to say, in terms of punishment because of that. Listen, whether you think he meant it or not, that's your call. He got elbowed in the face by an official, and here we are. Talking about Jurgen Klopp having a 2-game touchline ban. Yeah, Ali A references the point that the second game will be suspended for next season. That is correct, yeah. I want to get the FA statement up now as well while I'm talking, so I just found that 1 second while I find my actual cursor, because the Independent have spoken about the FA statement. So yeah, Jurgen Klopp handed a 2-game touchline ban for his comments made about Paul Tierney during, it was after the Tottenham win, wasn't it? It was a 4-3 game. Jota scores the last-minute winner, runs up to the 4th official, pulls his hamstring, and gives it the big one in the 4th official's face. Like, Klopp was booked for that, and probably rightfully so. I don't think we could really argue with that, to be honest. He probably potentially have seen red for that, if we're going to be, because I talk about protected species, you just can't do that sort of thing. I don't mind it, obviously, it's Jurgen Klopp, it's passion, whatever. But the referees, the bodies, the organisations, they hate that sort of stuff, so. Yeah, he was yellow carded for that, but it was the comments after the game that got him in hot water, I think it's fair to say. And I will talk through the statement from the FA now. So, the first match of the manager's touchline ban is effective immediately, and the second is suspended until the end of the 2023-24 season on the condition that he does not commit any further breaches of FA Rule E3 in the meantime. I mean, good God. So the transcript of the hearing shows the game's fourth official, John Brooks, complained to Tierney that Klopp had celebrated in my face, as we've seen, and it was suggested that it was a yellow card minimum, mate. There's a little bit of audio for you. Mate, would you look at that? Leading to Tierney and his VAR. VAR looked at that? I did not know that. Good Lord. Going on to book the manager, Klopp, obviously, with the on-pitch referee continuing saying it could be red, which is what he said to Klopp, obviously, at the time, to the Liverpool boss. which he seemed to take exception to post-match. Yeah, he did. He referenced that at the time. In the FA report on the matter, they conclude that Klopp's behaviour on the touchline did not influence the ban subsequently handed out, which was only in response to his television interview. Yep. We have our story, history of Mr. Tierney. This is Klopp now. I really don't know what this man has with us. I really don't know. I'm not really sure if it's me because how he looks at me, I don't understand it. I really have no problem with many people and not with him as well. And the PGMOL suggests that the comments amounted to an unwarranted attack on Tierney. I mean, good Lord. Like, seriously? Are we that precious about refs? An unwarranted attack? Like, I said it earlier on, like, we clearly clash. Klopp clearly clashes with Tierney. We can't avoid that anymore. Some of his decisions in our games have been abysmal. But you can say that about every single ref in the country, essentially. That's how poor the standard of refereeing is. And we, complain about refs almost after every game, it seems. It's very rare that we come away from a game saying, do you know what, he was actually sound. But Tierney has been horrendous a few times now. And not only has he been horrendous, he's been, when Klopp has confronted him on it, he hasn't helped the situation, I think it's fair to say. And this was another example of that. And Klopp, in the heat of the moment, he's got carried away with the fourth official. No qualms about that. He'd come out and then he said something post-match as well, and that's what they've took exception to. But like I said, for me, just to avoid any further conflict, we can't have Tierney again. We just can't have Tierney again. We just can't at all. Anyway, Ali A says, he says, I'll tell you now, the Redmond TV, I want to see the same energy for other managers, but they're going to pick and choose which one. Yeah, and I think you're right. I think sort of the technical box is another one of those mythical things, isn't it? The manager's supposed to get punished for, but they never do. Obviously, Mikel Arteta is probably the biggest guilty party in terms of that. He's constantly out of there and no punishment's ever delivered to him whatsoever. But Klopp now has a reputation, whether we like it or not as Liverpool fans, as being someone who, in sort of the heat of the battle, heat of the moment, will celebrate sort of what they would deem as being over the top. Like, managers for years have done this. Ferguson was one of the worst with refs. Jose Mourinho was horrendous at it. But in this day and age, they're not going to let managers get away with it. And this is where we are. Klopp is in trouble. I've seen somebody, that's very nice by the way, Starboy. Toby Larone. Yeah, I did hear the cup jingling. I think it's not us, to be honest. It's dealt with now because the door's closed, but I heard it myself. I'm with you. This is the most niche ASMR ever, someone doing the dishes. Yeah, it's not topic. It's not on the topic we're talking about, but I appreciate what you're saying, and it has been addressed. You'll all be pleased to know. So back to the matter in hand. Jurgen Klopp suspended 2 games, 1 game immediately. 1 has been suspended again until the end of next season. So basically, he needs to watch his conduct next year. Now, I don't know. Like, for me, Saturday, I spoke about it earlier. In terms of what it means on the pitch, probably not a lot. We're in a very good moment right now as a football team. We are flying. But as an occasion on Saturday, I don't know. I think it's a big shame. I think it's a huge shame. I think Firmino deserved to have Klopp on the touchline for this one. I think, say Firmino, he's likely to be on the bench if we're going to be brutally honest about it. He's only back in training sort of yesterday. Today he might train. Tomorrow probably not in terms of rest and stuff. I think Bobby Firmino deserved to be sent on to a football match by Jurgen Klopp. I think last time at Anfield, the occasion it's going to be, the emotional occasion it's going to be. And Milner as well, Milner's probably going to get minutes from the bench as well on Saturday, and he also deserves it to be. Jurgen Klopp was the man saying, listen, on you go, I want you to do this, this, this and this, whatever it may be. 3-0 up to see out a game in James Milner's case. Go and get me the winner in Bobby Firmino's case. It should be Klopp. That's the worst thing about all of this. And listen, the fact that it's the FA doing what they're doing to Jurgen Klopp and they're sort of singling him out, I take the point, absolutely valid point on board. It's also the Paul Tierney and Klopp confrontation thing and all that, I get it. But for me, like I say, it's the fact that it's not going to be Jurgen Klopp, the man to send on Bobby Firmino, when it should be. It just should be. I'm not hearing what you guys are hearing, to be honest, but I also understand there's some noise out there. I can only apologise profusely. Try and concentrate on me for like 2 or 3 more minutes, if we possibly can. I believe Paul's out there now. I can't tell you. I cannot tell you. But I'll begin to wrap up because clearly there's some serious background noise going on. If someone is mic'd up behind the scenes, like genuinely mic'd up behind the scenes, I really hope for their sake they do nothing that's going to get them into trouble, quite frankly. Whether it be a toilet related, if they say something that they shouldn't say, I can only hope and pray. And Aaron's baffled. And Howdy It's David says, sounds like you're at home bake, Dan Club. Pick me up a vegan scout. I'd love to, mate. I would. I'd absolutely love to. But I'm not there. So, listen, I'm going to wrap up because there's clearly... Oh, hang on. Cuban Scouser said it's fixed. St. Mary, it stopped. Okay, it stopped. I'll find out what it was and how we fixed it in a minute. I appreciate the fact it's fixed, though. Someone figured out. I don't know who that someone was. Aaron was baffled as well as I was. I'm in a completely separate room to all of them. Like, I'm in the studio. All that stuff's going on out there. I have no clue. Like, I'm not calling anyone liars. I believe every single one here. I really do. But, yeah, I am clueless, as you can probably tell. I'm often clueless. But I'm more clueless than ever right now. Paul's here to probably explain what it was because there's some real confusion going on.
It was blatantly just a mic turned on at a camera in the other studio. So hello everyone.
Okay.
That was Amber doing washing the pots for Thursday Night Pint later. So.
Nice, the Thursday Night Pint. Yeah, nice segue into me telling you the Thursday Night Pint is on later. So make sure you tune in for that one. It's got to be Boss, John Culshaw, and Jen Mercer will be live in studio. But yeah, a little pop in from Paul there. This show has gone very rogue all of a sudden. So I will begin to round up. I think I've made all the points I wanted to make. Let me just double check that. So Jurgen Klopp banned from the touchline for what will be Roberto Firmino's Anfield send-off. It will also be James Milner's, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's, Naby Keita's, and Arthur Melo's. Because after Liverpool's 4-3 win over Tottenham a little bit earlier on the season, he got a little bit carried away when Diogo Jota scored the winner. Didn't we all? Thanks to Richarlison as well, mainly. Ran into the official's face, who was John Brooks. I didn't know that 5 minutes ago, but now I do. Got a bit carried away, celebrated in his face. Referees don't like that sort of thing. He got booked. After the game, Jurgen Klopp, who isn't Paul Tierney's biggest fan, I think it's fair to say, essentially accused Paul Tierney of saying something that he shouldn't have done, and he also accused Paul Tierney of not being Liverpool's biggest fan, as it turns out, or indeed Jurgen Klopp himself's biggest fan. So the FA have gone away and looked at all of that footage, all of the evidence, the plethora of evidence that they obviously own, and they've decided that Jurgen Klopp should be fined £75,000 for his comments and given a touchline ban for 2 football matches. Now, one of those games will be on Saturday, one is suspended, depending on his further conduct, I think it's fair to say. So essentially, if Jurgen Klopp does nothing next season, he'll be fine. But if he even looks at Paul Tierney or any other ref the wrong way, he's in major trouble. So that's where we are. Thomas, I'll just make a couple more comments before we go. Can he come on after final whistle? I haven't checked that, but I would imagine so. I don't think there'll be any issues with that because essentially, once the football match is finished, it's kind of his ground again, in many senses, being the manager of the football club. So I don't think there'll be any problems with him coming on straight after the final whistle. I certainly hope he can, because as I've always made the point quite a few times during this show, he needs to be there for the end of Roberto Firmino's career and the others. I'm not going to name them all again. He deserves to be the one walking round, showing off Bobby et al. To the crowd and saying, look how wonderful these footballers have been. It's an absolute crying shame that he won't be on the touchline as the football manager to give instructions to those players that I'm talking about, to send Bobby on and watch as the crowd rises as he comes on, or indeed off if he does start the game. Jurgen Klopp deserves to be there for that moment. Unfortunately, he's not going to be. Now, I know I'm sounding all sort of romantic in terms of the FA should have took this into consideration. They shouldn't have done. They were never likely to. They're a cold-blooded organisation, and they've made the decision, and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it. Daniel Buttery, one or two more comments, and I will wrap up. Love that surname, by the way. Klopp should appeal. Yeah, he should. He probably won't. I don't think he's the type to. I think he said during the press conference when all this was going on that he wasn't likely to appeal. any sanctions that came his way, and now they have come his way. It's the timing of it is horrendous. Like if it was Southampton next week, I wouldn't be as impassioned about it. I'd probably just accept it and say it's not ideal, but Southampton, last game of the season, we should probably win that game of football regardless. They're relegated, etc., etc. But for me, this hurts a little bit more because of the occasion he will be missing, in inverted commas. Yeah, Sam, ref's just being sensitive. I tend to agree with it. And Matthew McCartney, Tierney should be dropped. Yes, he should. From refereeing forever in an ideal world. And on that point, I did reference it earlier on, but there was a fella, Konstantin Haziakis, I think his name was. I don't apologise if I got your pronunciation wrong because it's a horrendous name to try and say. He elbowed Andy Robertson in the face, and I don't believe there was any punishment for that. Maybe he missed the game, but he wasn't dropped. They just take people off duty, don't they, the refs? If they have a bad game, just take them off duty. Take them out the firing line for a week, and then just bring them back and pretend we all forgot about it. Anyway, I want to finish with one last comment. Candy Flex says we wouldn't change Klopp for the world. Now that I totally agree with. I really do. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for humouring me. Thank you very much for lasting through what was the ASMR show out there. I really do appreciate it. Like I said earlier, make sure you tune in at 7 o'clock tonight for a Thursday night pint. And if you're not already, make sure you head over to Redmen Plus and check out all our amazing content there. We've had Neil Jones in today on Journo, of course. And if you use the code YEAR, you can get Club Captain yearly membership for half price. And that's just boss, innit? And one final message. We have our live end of season party at Hotel Anfield tomorrow night. That kicks off at 7. You can still get tickets. Head to our socials for links and all that good stuff. Some of you will already be there because some of you are already amazing. I can't wait to see you all there. I'm going to stop talking now. Yeah. And Daniel Buttery, yes, I think Klopp can come on after the final whistle because, like I said earlier, when the football match ends, it's then his football ground again. He can do whatever he wants. He could come on naked after the final whistle if he really wanted to. I don't think he will, but he could. Anyway, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Take care. See you all again soon. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. Did you know that if you go over to redmenplus.com and sign up as a Club Legend subscriber, I will personally email you every single month with a new code, which gets you 20% off at redmenmerch.com. That's a no-brainer. Go and do it.